Divine Revelation, the Miraculous Transformation of Sodom and Gomorrah, a 4K Inspirational Journey. In the days of old, when the heavens opened and spoke to righteous men, a voice echoed through the desolation of the lands towards the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah. It was in the years between the ages of the patriarchs, around 1900 to 1700 BC, that the weight of wickedness pressed heavy upon the hearts of the faithful. Abraham, the friend of God, stood upon a mountain, gazing at the horizon when the Lord spoke to him. Abraham, I have seen the iniquities of Sodom and Gomorrah, their cry has come up before me. With an overwhelming ache in his spirit, Abraham recognized the moral decay enveloping the cities. The cries of the innocent, the cries of the oppressed, permeated the air like the noxious smoke from their burning sins. A fervent regret seized him, and he approached the Lord with trepidation. Will you indeed sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous within the city? Will you spare it? With each inquiry, Abraham wrestled with divine judgment, a mother protecting her children at all costs. The dialogue between the two unfolded like a dance of grace and justice. The Lord assured him, for the sake of 50, I will not destroy it. Yet Abraham, caring for the innocent and despairing for the corrupt, pressed on until the final plea for a handful, just 10 righteous souls. I will not destroy the city for the sake of 10, the Lord replied, sealing the fate that awaited these wicked strongholds. As the sun set upon the land, cloaked figures approached Sodom, 2 angels veiled as travelers, weary from their journey. Upon entering the city, they encountered Lot, the nephew of Abraham, who had settled there, his heart still clinging to the vestiges of righteousness amid surrounding depravity. Lot, the time has come. We must flee this place, it is appointed for destruction, the angels warned him, their countenances radiant yet solemn. Urgent was their plea for Lot to gather his family, to escape the harrowing flames that threatened to consume them all. However, that very night, darkness descended with palpable malice, and the men of Sodom surrounded Lot's home, their voices demanding unholy satisfaction. Bring out your guests, they shouted. Lot, torn between the duty of hospitality and the desire to protect what was sacred, faced an unimaginable moral quagmire. In a moment of desperation, he offered his own daughters to appease the wrath of men who had forsaken all virtue, a tragic testament to the state of his spirit. As the angels intervened, pulling Lot into safety, they issued a final warning, do not look back. Escape for your life. With urgency swelling in their words, the air quaked beneath the weight of divine judgment. Lot and his family fled, hearts pounding as the city trembled. Yet amidst the chaos, Lot's wife, clinging to the fragments of a past life, turned, her heart tethered to the decadence she once knew. In that moment of disobedience, she transformed into a pillar of salt, a haunting reminder of love lost to corruption. As fire and brimstone rained down upon Sodom and Gomorrah, the heavens crackled with divine fury. The smoke rose, swallowing the cities, an echo of lost righteousness, reverberating throughout ages. Before we continue with this incredible biblical account, I want to make sure you don't miss any of these powerful scripture stories. Click the bell icon and select all notifications. These biblical narratives have transformed countless lives throughout history. If God's word through this story is blessing you, please like and share with someone who needs to hear about God's faithfulness today. Tell me in the comments, which biblical story has most impacted your faith journey? I'm always amazed how God's word speaks to hearts across generations. Now let's continue with what the Lord did next. In the aftermath, a singed earth lay beneath a darkened sky, and the weight of obedience echoed in the hearts of survivors. Questions lingered like ash in the air, what remains of God's mercy amidst judgment? As fire extinguished the lavish sin and corrupted hearts were laid bare, the faithful pondered God's covenant, a promise to lead them through trials unscathed, cultivating holiness amid darkness. In this weighty tension, as hope flickered against despair, the narrative lingered, casting darkness upon those who would come after. What awaited them? Would they heed the call to flee from the grips of sin, or would they, like Lot's wife, look back, forever entombed in the ashes of their past? As the smoke ascended into the heavens, the profound pursuit of faith versus sight beckoned, leaving hearts yearning for the unfolding of God's righteous plan. In the days following the fiery wrath that consumed Sodom and Gomorrah, the land lay still, trembling under the weight of divine judgment. Lot and his daughters, the sole survivors of that wicked city, ventured into the nearby mountains, seeking refuge from the desolation left behind. The pain of loss and the haunting memories of the lives they once knew pressed heavily upon them as they ascended, their hearts burdened yet strangely aware of God's mercy. In the shadow of a weathered cave, Lot's fear burgeoned like a smoldering ember. He turned and spoke to his daughters, "The men of that city were corrupt, but we must not fall prey to despair. Our God is a God of deliverance." Yet skepticism danced in the eyes of his daughters, for they had witnessed the destruction, the desolation, and the stark reality of what their homeland had become. As days turned into nights, they dwelt in the cave, away from the echoes of lost civilization. But loneliness clung to them as thick as the darkness that had suffocated Sodom. The daughters of Lot, consumed by fear of becoming extinguished remnants of a bygone era, devised a scheme to preserve their father's lineage. In their hearts, desperation overshadowed the lamp of faith. "Let us provide for our father, that we might not be forgotten," they whispered among themselves, plotting their actions in secret. On a fateful night, as Lot drank from the cup of sorrow, his daughters approached him with ill-conceived motives veiling their hearts. They acted under the guise of kindness, yet in doing so, they brought forth folly. For the commander of their fates was not their father, but the wickedness that had echoed through their childhood, now manifesting in a misguided attempt to claim life. Days turned into cycles of night and day, and these actions bred bitterness that would travel through the generations, sowing seeds of division that would ripple across the land. With the darkness deepening within their souls, the consequence of their choices loomed like a shadow. Though they thought their actions hidden, the Lord, who sees all things, knew their hearts. And as Lot woke from his drunken slumber, he realized too late the snares that had entangled his daughters, the fruits of a corrupted legacy that now sought to propagate itself. "What have you done?" he cried out, desperation filling his voice. His heart broke for the abundance of iniquity that had reared its head again, even in his own household. But just as despair threatened to choke their spirits, the heavens stirred in their benevolence. The promise of God still breathed hope in a barren world. The forgiveness and mercy that had spared Lot the flames beckoned once more, reminding him of Abraham's prayer, that in every generation, there would still be a remnant called out from among the unrepentant. As the days of sorrow stretched onward, a new chapter awaited these women and Lot, hidden unseen but unfolding within the tapestry of God's divine will. The promise of redemption lingered in their hearts, even as their choices echoed into the quiet of the mountains, a story yet to be told among the nations. In this divine orchestration, the torment of yesterday clashed with the hope of tomorrow, weaving a narrative of grace amid the ruins. Little did Lot know that his lineage would lead to the founding of nations, and that out of this dark period, God's redemptive plan would emerge, threading through the annals of time. What fresh revelation awaited in the unfolding story? Would the remnants of Lot's house rise from the ashes, renewed and transformed, through the Spirit of grace poured out upon those who would call upon his name? As echoes of their past lingered, the heart of God continued to beat for the broken, revealing a sovereign promise sealed with divine intention. In the stillness of the mountain, as the sun cast its first light upon the rugged peaks, the weight of the past hung heavy upon Lot and his daughters. Days had turned into weeks, yet the sorrow etched on their faces bore witness to their anguish. Lot climbed forth from the darkness of despair where he had sought refuge, burdened by a heart heavy with grief and shame. "Let us pray," he said, his voice trembling with the tremors of hope. "For the Lord our God is merciful, and his love endures forever." Yet, even as he spoke these words, his daughters stood before him, shadows of doubt clouding their eyes. "Father," they whispered, "our hopes lie in our own hands. Will God even remember us?" But Lot, stirred by the Spirit, raised his eyes to the heavens. "The Lord remembers his covenant, dear daughters," he proclaimed. "The same God who delivered us from the flames has not abandoned us." It was a gentle reminder of the faith that had once burned brightly, a faith he now sought to ignite anew amidst the ashes of their despair. As the dawn broke, a voice echoed through the valley, gentle yet profound, a murmur carried by the wind. The daughters of Lot listened intently, captivated by the whispering promise of the Almighty. I am with you, it seemed to say. Your anguish shall not remain unnoticed, I will bring forth a people from you, a lineage set apart. Encouraged by that sacred sound, they resolved to lay bare their brokenness before God. Together, they knelt, coalescing the remnants of their tangled hearts, crying out in unison, O Lord, teach us to trust in you, to navigate these shadows and find your light. In that moment, the heavens opened, and the presence of God enveloped them, a surge of divine warmth soothing their troubled spirits. As they emerged from their prayers, a fleeting vision ignited within Lot's heart, a vision of nations flourishing with the blessings of heaven, a promise spiraling forth from the ruins of Sodom. We shall bear children, he spoke, astonished by the unsettling hope burgeoning within him. His daughters exchanged glances, their faith rekindled by his words. Yeah, we shall bear children, they echoed, their voices brightening like the morning star piercing the dawn. And so, in the days that followed, the daughters of Lot found strength in their resolve. They sought wisdom from their father, who spoke of the ancient ways, of the covenant with Abraham. In the warmth of that familial bond, they turned their hearts back to God, whispering prayers of thanksgiving for the future yet unseen. Yet the winds of fate would not blow quietly, for within the hearts of the daughters lay seeds of hope intermingled with the remnants of their past decisions. A tension built within them: should they embrace the legacy of their lineage, or would the shadows of their actions pull them back into despair? As they journeyed further into the unknown, the bloodline they would soon bear danced precariously between light and darkness. Little did they realize, the defining choices before them would echo across generations, entwining with the very fabric of God's redeeming purposes. These thoughts swirled in Lot's mind, igniting a fervor within him that he could not contain. He has shown me, he declared aloud one evening. There is a land waiting for us, a future that calls our name. Let us not revert to despair, but instead, let our lives become a testament to his grace. Thus, the days turned to weeks, and an unexpected future ignited in their hearts, intertwined with threads of divine destiny. But in the depths of the earth, where tumultuous whispers thrummed like the heartbeat of time, something sinister began to brew, an evil lingering, waiting for the next move in history's grand design. What awaited Lot and his daughters on this new path? With each step forward, they unknowingly walked toward the prophetic unfolding of a story that would impact nations far beyond their own, a narrative of redemption that would echo through time, illuminating God's sovereign plan. As they ventured into the mystery of tomorrow, the silence was pregnant with the promise of what was to come. Would they embrace the new life flowing from brokenness and turn towards the light? The divine tapestry awaited, ready to reveal its deepest secrets. As the sun climbed higher upon the rugged slopes, a deep silence enveloped the land where Lot and his daughters dwelled. Their hearts heavy with hope, they wandered through their new surroundings, yet the shadows of their past haunted each step. It was in this poignant stillness that Lot, sensing a stirring in his spirit, gathered his daughters beneath the shade of a gnarled tree, its roots spreading wide as if to embrace them in their chamber of truth. Listen, my beloved daughters, Lot began, his voice firm yet tender. The Lord has been gracious to us. Though we come from ashes, we shall rise. For the Lord has not cast away his people, nor forgotten his promise to Abraham. We are the remnants of his faithfulness, and through us, he shall establish a new legacy. The older daughter, having heard her father's plea, felt a flicker of conviction igniting within her heart. But father, she replied, her brow furrowed with worry, what if our lineage bears the marks of destruction? Will we be made clear of our past, or shall we be forever shrouded in the dust of Sodom? Lot's eyes twinkled with a vision that felt bestowed by heaven. Just as he turned the bitter waters sweet at Marah, he proclaimed, so can he transform our story. Let not our fears dictate our faith. Instead, let us commit ourselves wholly unto the Lord. He is mighty to save, and his mercies are new every morning. The younger daughter, emboldened by her father's words, took her sister's hand. What if we are to bring forth a seed that would carry forth his glory? Surely, he shall lead us into a promise far greater than we can perceive. With hearts entwined in hope, the three of them knelt there, voices lifted in supplication, fervently seeking God's guidance for their future. As their prayers ascended like incense, the wind rustled through the leaves, and a sudden calm enveloped them, as if the heavens were bending low to listen. And in that sacred moment of prayer, the richness of the divine presence filled the air. A fire ignited in Lot's belly as he caught the flash of destiny, unveiled a lineage untainted by prior chaos, destined for blessings and flourishing. As they rose from their knees with new resolve, a vision was granted to Lot, one that would shake the pillars of his understanding. "Behold," he said, turning to his daughters, "I see a people rising from our loins, a great nation that will emerge not in shame, but in honor. The Lord has crowned us with purpose even now." Yet, unbeknownst to them was the looming darkness seeking to snuff out that promise. Beneath the earth, the shadows conspired, the legacy of Sodom whispering through the crevices of the land, aching to corrupt the hope kindling in Lot's home. Days passed, filled with a sense of expectation and tender unity among Lot and his daughters. They began to prepare for a journey, packing their meager belongings whilst their hearts dreamed of a land flowing with milk and honey. But unease lingered still, as each night was punctuated by dreams of a battle raging, specters from the past clamoring for their allegiance. "Father," the daughters implored one evening, as the stars glittered above like scattered diamonds, "what shall we do to protect this hope as we move forward? Evil lurks at the edges, and we feel its breath upon our very souls." "Our faith is our shield, dear ones," Lot replied, resolute. "We shall not bend to fear. The Lord fights for us, as he did for Abraham against the giants of the land. Let us trust firmly in his guiding hand." However, the echoes of ancient cities withering in temptation gnawed at them, preparing to rain down doubt. And on the eve of their departure, with the world still and watchful, a peculiar omen aroused concern among the stars, an ominous sign, a flicker of darkness wrapping its fingers around the light. What awaited them as they pressed on, their hearts steeled for renewal amidst uncertainty? Would the revelation of their God thrive amidst the suffocating shadows? Or would the remnants of their struggle tether them back to despair? As they turned their gazes towards the dawn, it hung heavily in the sky, shrouded in enigma, a precursor to the unfolding of God's incredible promise. The sovereign plan, hidden yet tenacious, awaited the moment of revelation to burst forth even from the grave of Sodom. Would they cling to the light or succumb to the dark? As the first light of dawn broke upon the horizon, illuminating the rugged terrain, Lot arose with an urgency in his spirit. His resolve to guide his daughters toward a promised future hardened like bronze, tempered in the fires of despair but glimmering with hope. The echo of their prayers lingered in his heart, affirming the truth that they were not forsaken. "Come, my daughters," he called softly, rallying them from their slumber. "The day of our departure is upon us. The Lord has paved our way out of darkness into his marvelous light, and we shall walk in his counsel." With steadfast hearts, they gathered their modest belongings. Lot wrapped his arms around their shoulders, intertwining their fates as one family unto the Lord. "Let us remember," he spoke, his eyes glistening with the radiance of faith, "the promise given to Abraham. For in us shall that promise be fulfilled." As they began their trek toward the mountains, whispers of the past clawed at their heels like wounded spirits. The memories of Sodom clung to the edges of their minds, a heavy fog threatening to engulf their resolve. But the wind brought with it clarity, the same breath that parted the Red Sea and quelled the storm on Galilee. Standing upon the heights, they paused, gazing back at the smoldering remains of what was once the wicked cities. A searing vision passed through Lot's mind, as if the Lord revealed the heart of the nation that would arise from their lineage. "Fear not, for the Lord is with us," he declared, his voice echoing through the hills. Yet even as they ventured forth, a shadow fell upon their journey. Danger lurked, embodying the remnants of Sodom's seductive legacy. It manifested as a stranger who approached from the distance. Strong and imposing, he bore in his eyes a cunning glint that drew in Lot's daughters, casting doubt like fallen leaves. "Who are you that you flee from your kin?" the stranger inquired, his voice a serpent's hiss. "Do you not recall the glory of Sodom? All that glimmers in the eyes of men awaits you there. Why endure the uncertainty of this wilderness?" A chill ran down the spines of Lot's daughters, yet they remembered their father's words and the promise that lay before them. Lot stepped forward, anchoring himself between his beloved daughters and this embodiment of temptation. "We are not swayed by illusions," he answered, his voice firm as iron. "The destiny ahead of us outshines your empty promises. Our faith is our compass, and our God has beckoned us to a new beginning." As the stranger's words fell futile against their faith, a surge of courage blossomed within the daughters. The silence of the hills grew heavy with the palpable tension of a great spiritual struggle. In that moment, their vision shifted, where shadows had clouded their minds before, clarity emerged, dripping with purpose. It was then that the ground beneath them trembled, not with the quake of despair but with the force of impending revelation. From the height of their plight, the heavens crackled with energy, and the Spirit spoke in a thunderous whisper, "Rise, my people, for I have birthed a nation from the ashes. Your labor shall not be in vain, for from this moment, the heavens shall manifest a glory unfathomable." Lot and his daughters, energized by the divine proclamation, clasped hands tightly. They were not just escaping the sins of Sodom, but stepping into the greater story God had written for them. Yet even as they ascended to the peaks, further echoes of Sodom pulsed around them, murmuring temptations of resignation, seeking to recapture their spirits. The battle for their hearts was far from over, and the weight of their decision loomed larger than before. What grand design unfurled in the heart of God, a plan that threaded hope through despair and breathed purpose into their existence. Would their spirits be fortified to forge ahead into the dawn of a new era, or would they falter before the specters of their past? In the silence that followed, a divine stillness that felt heavy with potential, the answer awaited beneath the surface, as God's sovereign plan prepared to reveal itself through them, even as the shadows loomed ever closer. Would they remain steadfast, illuminated by faith? Or would the echoes of Sodom ensnare their hearts once more? As they pressed onward, the weight of the mountains loomed before them, a testament to both the trials they faced and the promises that beckoned them forward. Lot's heart swelled with a mix of fear and faith. He stepped with trepidation, yet with every breath, he drew strength from the unshakable truths that swelled within his spirit. "Let us not turn back," he urged, glancing back toward the horizon. "For we are called to a destiny greater than ourselves. The Lord, who led Abraham out of the land of his forefathers, is the same Lord who leads us now." His voice resonated with authority, echoing the faith of his ancestor. The daughters nodded, their expressions shifting from trepidation to determination. "Father, we will not falter," one spoke with a fierce light in her eyes. "We have witnessed the hand of God in our escape. The fires that consumed Sodom cannot touch the lives of those who trust in him." But in the fervor of their resolve, a sudden gust of wind swept through the mountains, carrying a whisper that seemed to seep from the very stones around them. The strange figure lingered still, a mirage shrouded in darkness, his obsidian gaze piercing through the mounting daylight. "Foolish are those who abandon comfort for uncertainty," he spat, his voice straining with seductive lies. "Is that not what you cling to?" Lot retorted, stepping forward, emboldened by the assurance of the Spirit. "Comfort that decays into corruption. We shall not heir the legacy of Sodom, we are born of a promise." As he spoke, the ground beneath them trembled once more, not in fear, but in recognition. With every word steeped in faith, the earth responded, acknowledging the divine weight of their decision. The air shimmered as the presence of the Almighty enveloped the mountain, infused with the essence of His glory. In that moment, a vision was given to Lot, a glimpse of a future that transcended the present circumstances. He saw a great multitude, as angels danced above, celebrating the redemption of his daughter's lineage. Nations arose from the dust of the promise, the very blessings destined for Abraham's heirs blooming in the hearts of his kin. But with the vivid promise danced shadows of doubt. What if we are lost in this wilderness? The voice of one daughter quaked, her resolve buckling under the weight of the unknown. What if we wander without aim? Lot, grasping her shoulders gently, beseeched her with tender intensity. Did not your God lead you through the valleys before? Remember the hand that sheltered us amidst the flames, the whispers that quaked with majesty. He leads us not into abandonment but into destiny. Under the urgency of his love and faith, the fear began to dissipate like morning fog under the warming sun. At once, the daughters drew courage, propelled by a newfound fire enkindled within them. They clasped each other's hands, creating a chain of unwavering trust. Then, as Lot raised his eyes to the heavens, the echoes of divine promise washed over them with resounding power. It was like the sound of rushing waters, a promise cascading forth with renewed clarity. He felt the Spirit move among them, weaving a tapestry far greater than their eyes could perceive. As they continued on, the path grew brighter, illuminated not by mere sunlight, but by divine purpose shining through the darkness. Hearts that once trembled with trepidation spurred with fervor, the daughters finally sprang forth. In the height of their ascent, a final proclamation from the depths of heaven echoed, "This day I set before you life and death, blessing and curse. Choose life, that you may live." What great threshold were they to cross, born from their faith? The air smelled ripe with impending revelation as the mountains reverberated beneath their feet. They were not just an escape from Sodom, they were the culmination of God's promise that would birth a nation, to rise in glory from the ashes. What new trials they might face engulfed them in a shrouded mystery, but one thing was certain: God's sovereign plan would unfurl in astonishing ways, beckoning them forward and revealing the grandeur of their journey. The dawn of a new legacy awaited. As the sun began to set behind the cragged peaks, casting long shadows across the rocky terrain, Lot, with swift conviction, pressed on. The path before them narrowed, winding between towering cliffs. It was as though the very mountains were guardians, witnessing the unfolding of a divine narrative. "Father, will we ever find a home?" one daughter inquired, her voice thick with emotion, mirroring the uncertainty that clung like mist around them. "Beloved," Lot replied, "the Lord has prepared a place for us. His ways are not as our ways, nor are his thoughts our thoughts. I sense we are drawing near to the fulfillment of his promise." He remembered the covenant made with Abraham, sealed with a pledge that echoed through generations. With each step, the atmosphere shimmered as the descending twilight seemed to envelop them in a warm embrace. Yet, amid the beauty, a stark reminder of their past loomed, a recollection of the smoldering ruins of Sodom. Even the air carried whispers of anguish, lost souls yearning for redemption. Suddenly, an earthquake tremor rattled the ground, sending loose stones skittering down the slope. The daughters gasped, fear surging anew. Lot hushed their cries, lifting his hands as if to calm the very earth beneath. "Stand firm. The Lord is with us," he proclaimed. Yet, as the echoes faded, the shadowy figure reappeared, relentless and taunting. "You think yourselves among the righteous? The sins of your forefathers cling to your very blood, and the stain of Sodom will not wash away." The figure's words dripped with venom, seeking to unearth doubt in their hearts. But Lot felt a surge of heavenly assurance. "You speak lies of condemnation. We are not bound by the iniquities of the past. For the blood of the Lamb will cleanse us." His declaration filled the space with conviction, amplifying the clarity threading through the air like a symphony of faith. In that moment of holy defiance, a brilliant flash of light illuminated the valley, and the daughters jolted backward, shielding their eyes. The heavens seemed to split open, and incredibly, from the light emanated a voice gentle yet commanding. "Lot, beloved, your journey does not end as the flame extinguished in Sodom. I am doing a new thing, now it springs forth." As the voice faded, the moment hung, pregnant with anticipation. Lot's heart raced, sensing the weight and wonder of this prophetic promise, while his daughters stood awed, struck by the divine assurance. "What shall we do, Father?" another daughter asked, her spirit rekindled, hope surging forth like a spring after rain. "Let us continue to walk in faith. The dawn of revelation is at hand. Keep your eyes upon the heavens, for our purpose is the grounding of a new covenant, a promise that shall lead nations," he inspired, directing their gaze toward the peaks now illuminated by the fiery hues of sunset. With renewed determination, they ascended, crossing a threshold toward a destiny brightened by divine favor. As they climbed, the air surrounding them seemed to shift, pregnant with the weight of purpose and the sanctity of covenant. Yet even as they pressed forward a tangible tension lay in waiting. What trials awaited them as they journeyed deeper into the hills? With each heartbeat, apprehension brushed against the promise. For, on this path, the unseen forces that had once sought their demise lingered, watchful, awaiting a moment to strike. And in the firmament above, clouds began to gather ominously, swirling as if the heavens themselves were in anticipation. Would Lot and his daughters see the complete unfolding of God's sovereign plan, or were they merely at the brink of a far grander struggle? As they rose further into the unknown, Lot's heart trembled with the knowledge that the full revelation of their purpose remained cloaked in mystery. Yet he clung to the words resounding within, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future." What awaited them in this wilderness would lead not only to personal redemption, but also to the establishment of a lineage through which the promises of God would resonate for generations. The dawn of a new legacy hovered closely, as God's sovereign plan began to unfold before their eyes, inviting them further into the depths of His wondrous design. The night deepened, draping the hills in a veil of darkness that seemed to echo with the heartbeat of creation itself. Lot sensed the heightened tension in the air. It thrummed around him like the stillness before a storm. "Father, what if we are never free from the shadows of our past?" One daughter whispered, her voice trembling as she glanced back toward the direction of Sodom, a city that still bore the scars of divine judgment. "Fear not, my beloved," Lot reassured, placing a warm hand upon her shoulder. "The Lord has promised us a new beginning, a sanctified path to healing. We must trust His word." He recalled the sacred words spoken to Abraham, echoing the covenant that their family would one day bring forth a lineage blessed among nations. As they ascended further, a soft luminescence enveloped them, illuminating their surroundings with an ethereal glow. It seemed a whisper of the divine, beckoning them forward into a promise yet unseen. The very earth beneath their feet felt alive, each step bore the weight of history, a merging of past burdens and future hopes. "Look!" exclaimed one of his daughters, her eyes wide with astonishment. Ahead of them lay an open valley, lush and vibrant, a stark contrast to the desolate memory of Sodom. The waters flowed, glistening as if reflecting the stars above. "Is this where the Lord will lead us?" "It may be," replied Lot, a spark of faith igniting within him. "Let us not dwell solely on the land but seek the purpose that accompanies it." Yet as they approached, a chill gripped their hearts, a reminder of the haunting realities they had escaped. The shadows that trailed behind those tainted by sin and dread seemed to linger, unwilling to release their grasp. A voice, echoing from the void, cut through the stillness, calling out to them in mockery, "What makes you think you are worthy of this new life? The sins of Sodom shall follow you." Lot straightened his back, resolute as he spoke, "Your voice is one of deceit and despair. For the truth lies in the Lord's promise, which is a fortress for the broken." The winds howled, swirling around them as if nature itself bore witness to the clash of faith against fear. "Stand firm," he called out, his voice ringing with unwavering conviction, reminding his daughters of the sacred strength they possessed. "We will embrace the path laid before us." And then, as if answering his call, the very heavens roared. A thunderous clap resonated, and a cascade of light broke through the gathered clouds. "Behold!" The voice spoke once more, reverberating through the valley. "I am the Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I am transforming the dust of the past into the gardens of promise." Lot fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the magnitude of the revelation that swirled around them. His daughters followed suit, their spirits electrified by the divine presence that had erupted through the night. "What shall we do, O Lord?" Lot uttered, heart laid bare, seeking guidance. "Rise, my chosen. For the deliverance of my people is at hand. From the ashes of Sodom shall rise a people transformed. What has been lost in despair shall deliver hope anew." Realization surged through Lot. They were not merely escaping destruction, they were being called forth to usher in a new promise, a future that would influence all the nations. The thought illuminated his heart, a revelation that sparked a fire of purpose within him. With newfound courage, Lot stood tall, facing the uncertainty before them. Let us move forward, daughters. For in our pilgrimage, we shall witness the unfolding of unspeakable glory. As they pressed on toward the valley, a rhythm of hope began to settle in their hearts. The winds shifted gently, whispering promises of unwavering strength. Yet, a weight hung in the air, an unseen sorrow. What trials might arise as they stood on the precipice of a divine intersection? In the distance, clouds began to swirl once again, a prelude to the events yet to be revealed. The unfolding of God's sovereign plan loomed over them, unseen but palpable, like the expectation before rain. On parched ground. With each step taken, they ventured into the heart of divine mystery, eager yet apprehensive, held captive by the grace that called them forward, unaware of the trials that awaited in their quest for redemption. For even now, the wheels of destiny were turning, and the echoes of a fresh covenant were beginning to resound through the ages. As the dawn began to break on the horizon, its rays struggled through the remnants of night, mingling with the echoes of the divine voice they had just encountered. Lot and his daughters stood at the threshold of the valley, filled with an unsettling mixture of hope and trepidation. "Father," one daughter spoke, her voice steady yet apologetic, "what if we encounter those who attempt to draw us back into despair? We may face the judgments we thought we had escaped." Lot clasped her hands, feeling the warmth of her spirit, yet he was gripped by earnest thoughts. "We must remember the covenant made with Abraham. For we are not recipients of judgment, we are the testimony of his mercy. The Lord's light shall guide us, should we remain steadfast." As they descended into the heart of the valley, a sight met their eyes that caused their breath to catch. Little pockets of life appeared, small villages thriving by the banks of rippling streams. The air was sweetened with the fragrance of blooming flowers, unlike anything they had known in Sodom, where despair had long choked the earth. Lot's heart swelled with gratitude as he saw the beauty echoing the promise of new beginnings. "Look! There are people!" his other daughter exclaimed, her voice filled with disbelief. But Lot's heart quickened, for he knew the danger that surrounded such a meeting. The remnants of the past clung to their souls, yet mingled within that fear lay God's unwavering promise. As they approached, clusters of men and women turned to them, curiosity painted on their faces, hesitant yet questioning. Among them was an old sage, eyes shining with wisdom as if peering into the very depths of their souls. "Strangers, who be you that approach this land? What brings you forth from the shadows?" "We are but pilgrims," Lot replied, his voice echoing through the air, a sound of strength. "We have fled the fires of divine judgment and seek sanctuary under the grace bestowed by the Almighty. We wish to dwell among you and partake in the harvest of hope." The old man stepped closer, sensing the burdens they carried. "The Lord does not lead without purpose. You speak of mercy when the land bears scars from its own past. Have you not tasted the bitterness of destruction? Will your wounds bleed anew in this place?" In that moment, Lot felt the weight of the question. Could they truly escape the fate marked out for them? "We come not seeking the ease of our burdens, but the cleansing of our past. We need your strength as we unite together in faith and resolve." Nodding slowly, the old sage beckoned to the people of the village. "Let us gather, for a new dawn rises, and in unity there is power. Your hearts may be weary, but it is through our stories that the fabric of life is woven." As the sun ascended, its light unshackled remnants of the night, the villagers embraced Lot and his daughters, lifting them into a fold where imperfections mingled with hope. Together, they sang praises to the Most High, their voices rising like an offering of incense alive with possibility. Yet as the celebration unfolded, the darkness lingered, an unseen specter hanging in the air. Lot was acutely aware of the lurking shadows, for among those who welcomed them, were those who had known Sodom well. Whispers of past sins danced through the congregation, tantalizing but troubling. "Can it be," one woman uttered softly, "that the sin of our memories could invade this sanctuary of promise?" Lot, sensing the anxiety that intertwined with their hope, knew he must speak again. "Do not let fear dictate your future. Change begins within, as the Lord breathes life into his people. The promise of transformation is not merely in deeds but in faith. In that profound moment, the air crackled with potential, seeds of doubt struggled against the roots of faith. Would they fulfill the prophecy and grow into a people anew, or would the memories of sin choke the lush soil of hope being sown? As day turned to dusk, a storm gathered on the horizon, the clouds heavy with moisture and tension, an echo of the turmoil still lurking beneath their newly formed bonds. Little did they know, the arrival of a divine messenger was upon them, bringing revelations that could either lift them higher into promise or cast them into the depths of despair. Lot could feel it, a decisive moment was approaching. Yet, he murmured, gazing toward the brewing clouds, the hand of the Lord remains in control, crafting a tapestry of hope no man can unravel. Our journey has only just begun, and God's purpose, oh, how it looms before us. With anticipation stirring in their spirits, they awaited what would unfurl next, unaware that the unfolding of more divine mysteries was drawing near, stirring within the very fabric of their fledgling community. As the storm clouds gathered, a heavy silence enveloped the valley, casting an uneasy stillness amidst the joy that erupted from the gathering. Lot raised his hands, seeking the gaze of his daughters. "Fear not, dear ones," he spoke, his voice steady as the earth beneath them. "For the Almighty's hand guides our every step. The sins of the past do not hold a claim over those who trust in Him." Then, out of the thickening clouds, a celestial radiance broke forth. A messenger from the Lord, bathed in brilliant light, descended to the midst of their congregation. His presence silenced the murmurs and doubt, drawing every eye to the shimmering authority he bore. "Behold, people of God," the messenger declared, his voice echoing like thunder, "the promise of the Lord is upon you. From the ashes of destruction, new life shall spring forth. For I will give your descendants a land flowing with milk and honey." In awe, the hearts of Lot and his daughters soared. The messenger continued, "Lit by divine fire, your call for transformation is heard. Yet, to bear the fruits of this blessing, you must forsake the shadows that linger in your minds. Your lineage carries the weight of both blessing and burden. It is your choice to embrace the new horizon." Lot felt the spark of hope rekindle within him. "We will not falter," he proclaimed boldly, his voice rising with spiritual fervor. "For we shall build a legacy rooted in faith. The darkness of Sodom will not diminish the brightness of our future." With a palpable energy crackling in the air, the villagers responded, "Amen. Let us cast off the chains of dread and together uplift a new legacy. We shall strive to serve the Lord in righteousness." United, they embraced the charge, their voices raised in harmonious praise, a symphony of faith resounding through the valley. Yet amid their jubilation, a shadow flickered in the hearts of some, those who had known the temptations of Sodom too well. Whispers of doubt intertwined with the fabric of faith. "What if our past condemns us?" they questioned among themselves. "Can such wretched souls truly possess a future without the stain of what they once were?" Catching their murmurs, the divine messenger turned once more, his eyes piercing as he replied, "The Lord is mighty to save. He not only delivers but redeems. Look not to your past, but gaze upon His promises. Those who turn to Him will find refuge and renewal." And thus the storm that loomed, heavy with tension, began to shift. For the very winds themselves spiraled around them, amplifying the fervent cries of faith that swelled from the hearts of all gathered. They were not just receiving the promises of God, they were declaring victory over the vestiges of despair that had threatened to ensnare them as they fled from Sodom. "Come, let us gather." Lot motioned, as he led them in a circle of unity and prayer. Each heart laid bare, they turned toward the dawn that awaited them. "O Lord our God, strengthen our resolve. Draw us out of the shadows and into the light. May this new beginning be a testament to your mercy and grace." All around, the faithful stood firm, invoking the spirit of Abraham, their ancestor, who had once walked in covenant with God. The winds began to subside, the clouds pushed away by a torrent of renewed faith that rose from their lips, weaving a tapestry of praise unto the heavens. And just as the first drops of rain began to fall gentle yet insistent, a soft voice broke through the tumult. "Rise! For in this valley, the roots of righteousness shall take hold. Your journey is just beginning, as you are destined to be a people unto my name, drawing the hearts of many to the light that pours forth from you. With each droplet, hope soaked into the ground, nourishing the seeds of faith planted in the hearts of the people, a sacred promise that would flourish generations hence. As the storm cleared, the day began anew. Dawn broke above the valley, illuminating the face of Lot and his daughters, who gazed into the shimmering horizon, a horizon pregnant with the promise of a multitude, each thread intricately woven into the timeless portrait of God's plan. "Look, Father," the eldest daughter exclaimed, her heart alight with anticipation. "In the distance lay a fertile land abundant with promise. It is time to go forth and claim the heritage our God has bestowed upon us." With resolute hearts, holding firm to the truth spoken by the messenger, Lot desired one final proclamation. "To the Lord be all glory, for his mercies are new every morning. From the ashes, we rise, and in the withering, we shall bloom." In their midst, a new journey awaited, filled with trials to test their newfound resolve, yet tempered by the promise of divine purpose. Would they stand firm against the whispering shadows of their past? With every step forward, they embraced the fullness of God's redemptive narrative, knowing that from their lineage would come nations, a beacon of light shining forth from the ruins of the fallen cities. As they set their sights on their new home, the echo of their journey carved its path into eternity, a testimony of God's faithfulness unfolding through time, a symbol of his unyielding love for the lost and the redeemed alike. But dear friends, the tale does not end here. Much awaits in this saga of God's people. So, if these principles of transformation and hope have touched your heart, I urge you now subscribe immediately to stay connected with God's Word. Don't wait even one more second. Leave a like now to spread the light of God's truth through the algorithm. Your voice is powerful. Comment below with your reflections on this story, how it has impacted your journey of faith. And remember, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who seek the truth of God's unwavering promises. Only true believers understand the importance of supporting biblical content to reach more souls for Christ. This is the moment to help spread biblical truth. Let us rise together on this journey of faith.